What's going on YouTube? It's Tyler_TCG here. Welcome back to another video. And today I have my friend Steve, who got 9th place at his regional playing Punk Kashtira. Steve, how are you today, my friend?
A little upset that I got 9th place, but overall pretty good. I can't complain.
So you said you had about 150 participants at your regional, so it was nice 8 rounds of Swiss?
Yep, 157 players, 8 rounds of Swiss, top 24 get their invite.
All right. And do you remember your match history from yesterday?
I do. I remember every single match, dude.
Okay.
So,
You want to dive into that real quick before we get into the deck profile?
yeah, of course. Round 1 was against Brandon Bistiel. I felt bad because he was a newer player coming back into the game. I think he played back in 2015 and he came back. Round 2 was against Valence, which was quite the shock. I was not expecting that deck. I had no idea what it did playing against it. That deck scythe blocks you apparently, which is fun.
Oh, how great.
Round 3 was Pen Magician, which shocked me as well because Kashtira was actually kind of big at this regional for some reason.
Okay.
And that deck just kind of hard loses to Cash. Round 4 was Kashtira. Round 5 was Kashtira. Round 6 was Tier. Round 7 was Tier. And my last round was Kashtira.
All right. Now, what made you want to play this deck over just the pure Kashtira variant?
I personally enjoy playing the Punks. It's just one of my favorite engines, one of my favorite decks to play. I really enjoy it, and picking up pure cash right before this regional just didn't seem like a smart idea for me at the time, just because I didn't want to come into this regional with like a new deck.
All right. So without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. I see you have 3 copies of Z Almond, 3 copies of Foxy Tune, 3 copies of Ogre Dance, 1 Shirakuzai, 2 Deer Note, 1 Madam, and 1 Wagon. Would you change any of the Punk ratios from this, or do you really like these ratios?
Post this regional, I probably wouldn't. The only thing that I really miss sometimes is against Tier. If they milled your Shirakuzai, it really hurt. Like, you don't have the play off of the fusion. You kind of like lose your like easy access into Deer Note and stuff like that. So that kind of hurt because that's what kind of like lost me. I think round 7 against Tier, is that he milled my Shirakuzai game 1, and I'm just like, well, I can't play the game because my hand wasn't like super amazing, and I kind of needed the Shirakuzai play to do anything out of it.
Okay, and now why'd you play 2 Deer Note as opposed to 1 Deer Note?
You need it for the recovery plays.
Okay.
Much. Playing 1 Deer Note, it gets you through the combo, but like on the follow-up, you kind of need the 2nd Deer Note to play. Playing 2 of it still is not the greatest, because I bricked on it 1 game, and that was just not fun. But you brick on it much less with 2. So.
Okay. All right, now for the Kashtira engine, we see 3 copies of Fenrir, 3 copies of Unicorn. How did you like these cards?
It's kind of hard. Against every other deck, it was perfect. It was clean 3/3. It felt good. I mean, I would change a couple of things about it post Photon Hypernova, but against like most decks, like a Fenrir sometimes just ruins somebody. Like I was playing against a Kashtira player, and he de-shifters me game 1, and I go special Fenrir, search Unicorn, activate Birth, special Unicorn, hit for 49 damage. And I pass on that, and he thinks I'm playing Kashtira.
Mm-hmm.
So
little did he know.
Little did he know. After he saw me discard a Ogre Dance off of the Lunar Eclipse, which you'll see later. But
yes, and so the last monster in the main deck, we have 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. How did Ash perform?
Against Rogue, great. Otherwise, I really either didn't see it too much, or it just didn't play well against Kashtira specifically. Like the idea around it is that if you open up like Ash Imperm or Ash, if they have just Unicorn, you Ash the Theosis and hopefully you can stop them.
Okay.
But it never came up as often as I wanted because I just didn't draw it as much. And I think I usually setted it out against Kashtira because there were just stronger hand traps.
Right. All right, so now we'll move on to the spells. We have 3 copies of Book of Lunar Eclipse, 3 copies of Emergency Teleport, 1 copy of Called by the Grave, 3 Triple Tactics Talent, 2 copies of Kashtira Birth, and 1 Punk Jam Extreme Session. So now, why did you choose Lunar Eclipse over something like Book of Eclipse?
So since I main Book of Lunar Eclipse, I preferred it over or regular Eclipse because if I have to proactively use my Lunar or my Eclipse, then I put my Punk monsters face down, which means that I can get this quick synchro access, and it kind of like shuts off the rest of my monsters on that fact.
Okay.
On top of it, if you do the full combo uninterrupted, you draw 2 cards for free anyways, so you can afford a discard for the Lunar Eclipse anyways.
Okay. And now,
So it's like the idea behind it.
I gotcha. Now, how did you like the one copy of the Jam Session? I see most Punk variants are playing like 2 to 3 of this card because they just really want to see it to be able to draw. How did you feel about the one copy?
You mostly go through you go through the full Punk loop all the time, no matter what. So you always get access to the field spell. You always maximize on the 2 draws that you get, unless you're bad like me and you draw the frickin' trap every single time.
Ah, yikes.
Yeah. But for the most part, like if you do the full combo, which if you ever wanted to have like that as another video, we can always do that. But like you always go through the full combo where it's like Sharakusai, summon the Wagon, summon out a Deer Note, search the field spell, and then you get your 2 searches off of the Synchro 8 and your Madam Spider. So you always get your 2 draws anyways.
Gotcha. How did you like Triple Tactics? How was Triple Tactics a very impactful card over the weekend, or?
I think I only resolved it twice. A lot of times it was dead, I will say.
Okay.
And it kind of sucked because a lot of times I'm sitting there like I'm prioritizing the triple tax over things like an imperm because I think that my opponent has a hand trap.
Right.
And that never happened. Like I played against the Kashtira player where I pitched an imperm off of it and it kept it a triple tax because I thought he had nib, and he never had nib. He never dropped it.
Okay, I gotcha. And now, moving on to the traps, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence and 1 copy of Dangerous Gabu. Now, if you had to change your hand trap lineup or add any more hand traps, what hand trap would it be?
Post Photon Hypernova, I think Gamma's going to be really good. I think Nib in the main's going to be pretty decent. Those are pretty much it. Like, I think Ash is a little too low impact. I think if you're going into, like, post Photon Hypernova, it's a little bit better because of Branded coming in.
Okay, yeah.
Imperm is just insane. The amount of times that I imperm somebody's unicorn and they passed was actually ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So, like, because they don't have much follow-up past it unless they have exactly birth.
Right.
So.
All right. We'll move on to the side deck now. We have 3 copies of Artifact Lancia, 2 copies of Ghost Spell and Haunted Mansion, 3 Nibiru the Primal Being, 3 copies of Dark Ruler No More, 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, and 3 copies of Anti-Spell Fragrance. Now, which card would you say you've sided in the most and won you most of your game is post-side deck?
I don't think I really had a specific card that I sided in the most. So the idea that I had with the side deck is that Nib and Lancia come in games 2. When I'm going second against Kashtira. When I'm going first against Kashtira, I put in Lancia Anti-Spell, which Anti-Spell just shuts down that deck completely. And Anti-Spell was like the highlight side deck card of the weekend. It was actually insane. The amount of times that I flipped up Anti-Spell, my opponent just scooped was wild.
Okay. How impactful? How good was Lancia when you if you ever drew into it against a Kashtira player?
It doesn't quite stop their turn. They can still end on Unicorn Fenrir, which isn't the greatest, but it does slow them down a lot, and it forces them not to be able to go into the Arise Heart, so they can only lock down 2 zones, and then they're just stuck with the 2 zones because they don't have like a D shifter or dimensional barrier, or not dimensional barrier, dimensional fissure.
Okay, I gotcha.
So, it wasn't too great though, I will say. That's like the only thing I had with it. It did enough to where like if my hand was decent enough, I could usually just break their board set of my own or break their board and kill them. So I don't think that was bad. The only bad card I think that was in my side deck the whole weekend was the Bells.
What would you swap the Bells out for?
That's a good question. I didn't think about that one. Probably just either another hand trap or another board breaker. Probably Evenly's, honestly, coming into next format. I think Evenly's gonna be really good.
Okay, yeah, I've been talking with a bunch of guys where they say Evenly and like board breakers are also great. So now we'll move on to the extra deck. We have 1 copy of Underworld Goddess of the Closed World, 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, 1 copy of Oss of the Earth Charmer, 1 Zeus, 1 Rise Heart, 1 Big Eye, 2 copies of Amazing Dragon, 1 Psychic and Punisher, 1 copy of Baron de Fleur, 1 Big Changus, 1 Draco Berserker with a Tenyi, double copies of Gem Dragon Drive, and 1 copy of Rising Carp. How did you like your extra deck?
I think it was pretty good. Yeah, I think it was pretty good. The only issue that I had with it that I can think of is the links weren't as impactful. I only think I made also once all weekend. I never went into Unicorn, never went into Underworld Goddess. I kind of wish I played a second Rising Carp in the extra, but that only came up once against the Kashtira player that actually knew what the Punk deck did.
Okay.
So that was the first thing he banished.
Okay, I was going to ask what most Kashtira players were banishing if they activated the Unicorn effect to hit your extra deck.
They honestly didn't know what to choose. One Kashtira, when they were looking through my extra deck, one Kashtira player ripped out my Psychic and Punisher. One ripped out Baron. Another one ripped out Rising Carp. And I was just like, okay.
So you had the element of surprise in a way. That way they didn't know what your deck really did, so they just didn't know what to hit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the amount of times that people like impermed or ashed my Xiamen just for me to drop E-Telly on them was just insane. Like everyone just kept imperming the Xiamen. I'm just like, I have so much follow up. It just depends on like what you do.
Okay, now how do you see this deck changing post now that Photon Hypernova is legal?
I think it can go two ways. I think it can go more heavy towards Kashtira, where like you can take out a majority of the Punk monsters and probably just play like triple Xiamen, triple Foxy, triple E-Telly, and then just play a larger Kashtira engine and kind of just play good rank 10s or good level 10 synchros, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Baron is going to like save you from Nib. Changing works really well with your deck because you banish, so you just keep banishing face-up cards in the field.
Oh, true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, but if you're going with like a more heavy Punk version, I think it's not gonna change too much. I think you could. The only thing that I can think that you could swap out is maybe like swapping out a couple of the Kashtira monsters for like Triple Planet, maybe an Arise Heart, and maybe a Theosis.
Okay. All right. Well, great. Thank you very much for this deck profile, Steve. Please, guys, let me know down in the comment section down below if you'd like to see the Punk combo lines and everything. But for myself and Steve, thank you so much for the deck profile. Congratulations on your 9th place at the regional. We will be seeing you at Nats. And that'll be it for today's video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next video. Have a good day. Peace.